that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder hope gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey and Tom Fennell. The famous Tom Fennell. Right hand.
Hi, guys. I'm wearing my antique t-shirt here.
Antique.
Yeah.
Tom has told me that although Bush and Cheney are not in office, they can still be impeached. And that means that they can't be thrown out of office because they're not in, but they can have their benefits taken away from them.
That's
Whoa.
the way it is.
Okay.
Now we let a cat out of the bag here.
Yeah. Every day I go to the internet and I do news and put up articles at my website, geoharvey.wordpress.com. I do about 10 to 15 articles every day. And Tom and I get together on Thursdays and go through the previous week's news and present the pieces that we think are the most interesting.
The best of the blog.
The best of the blog. So we will start Thursday, August 20th. And this is actually, it's about Rhode Island, but it's an article that's really of general interest in the Northeast.
We got a couple of Rhode Island articles.
Yeah, we do.
That's unusual.
Rhode
I don't think
Island-
we've ever spoken about Rhode Island before.
I don't know. Rhode Island is in good shape when it comes to meeting the emissions reductions set earlier this month by President Obama. As one of 9 Northeast states in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, a cap-and-trade energy program, Rhode Island is on track to meet its power plant emissions targets by 2020, 10 years ahead of the deadline set by the Clean Power Plan. That
Well,
comes
they're
from
ahead of the game.
Echo RI News.
Well, I got a little quick takeaway here. The
okay.
RGGI, which is Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative,
Right.
of which Rhode Island is a member and Vermont is too,
Yes.
has run a cap-and-trade market that incentivizes power plants.
Right.
Okay, and we'll probably be talking a little bit about that later.
Yep.
Regarding Vermont. Rhode Island has 5 cap-and-trade plans,
Wow.
either to cut carbon dioxide emissions or pay to pollute. That's the way it works.
Pay to pollute.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, which
How about
I
if-
don't like.
How about
think
if
it's a
I
sneaky
pay?
backdoor.
Yeah. Why don't I pay the government of Brattleboro for the right to dump my garbage in my neighbor's backyard?
Well, if you had enough money, you might be able to pull it off.
But that's what it is. I don't like it.
Essentially, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, it sounds good, but it's got flaws.
It doesn't sound good.
Well, not when you analyze it. No.
Oh man.
Not when you analyze it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little smoke and mirrors, I think.
Smoke and mirrors. That's exactly what it is. Okay, we have an opinion piece here from Green Chip Stocks. It's called "Another Clean Coal Scam Exposed." Mississippi Power has just downgraded by Moody's. Just been downgraded by Moody's as a result of its lack of permanent cost recovery provisions for its Kemper project, which is, since 2010 has promised to be the first of its kind to employ gasification and carbon capture technologies at such a massive scale. To date, construction costs have soared to more than $6 billion. And by the way, this plant is a 585 megawatt plant.
Good sized plant.
It's a good sized
About
plant.
the size of Yankee.
It's about a little bit smaller than, about the size of Yankee. But still, $6 billion for a coal-powered plant?
This sounds to me like a boondoggle.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Got a nice little picture here of a roadside billboard in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Coal, Pennsylvania's #1 fuel for electricity.
Yeah, well, why not?
Why not? You know?
Yeah. Pennsylvania, by the way, is not in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative.
Right.
And so they have to do a lot more than Rhode Island.
Well, it says quickly, coal ain't clean.
Coal ain't clean.
And there's a little takeaway here in the bottom. $6 billion, as you just said, is a lot of money to pay for a power plant that relies on a resource which is both environmentally and economically inferior to renewables. Duh! Especially when you consider that once the solar or wind power system is integrated, the resources are inexhaustible and free. I mean, there it is in a nutshell.
You know, I mean, I have to say, moving to renewables is going to be an economic disaster. It's going to be an absolute economic disaster for people who are invested in coal.
Bingo. For some,
you get a lot of propaganda from people who are invested in coal, and boy, do you ever.
This is an interesting story. Well, I'm
okay,
let you talk
the
about
Islamic leaders story.
Yeah,
This is from International Business Times AU. Islamic leaders issued a climate change declaration calling for world governments to adopt a new international climate agreement to phase out fossil fuels and limit global warming to 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. The collective statement of leaders from 20 countries lays out a deadline for wealthy and oil-producing nations to phase out all greenhouse gas emissions by 2050.
Well, this isn't the guys with the... these aren't the terrorists. These are the guys behind the
terrorists,
scenes
no.
with the funny hats, you know.
Well, they have funny hats sometimes, but they're not terrorists.
No. I just wanted to mention this picture here. First of all, it's a nice picture of a coal plant.
Yeah, beautiful.
With a nice sunset behind it.
Yeah, beautiful sunset.
But if you look at all of those cranes, what they're doing is they're dismantling the towers.
Okay.
At first, it seems what they're doing seems silly. It's a decommissioned coal plant.
Yeah.
Okay. It's being redeveloped into retail, office, and residential use.
Isn't that interesting?
Okay. And they've got a clause there that they've got to preserve the character of the building.
Oh, no.
So they're pulling down the chimneys, cleaning them, and putting them up again.
You're kidding me.
I'm not.
Oh, my gosh. I'm glad I didn't read that at home because I would have got sick. I won't get sick here on television. Okay.
Well, for once, I kind of agree with some of these Islamic guys. You know, they're making sense, and the Pope is behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. The Pope is behind the Islamic guys.
Excessive pollution from fossil fuels threatens to destroy the gifts given by Allah.
Okay.
Okay, and by the way, just to make it sure, Allah isn't somebody's name.
Yes.
It's the word. It's descriptive. It means the God. So
yes.
Allah and Jehovah are the same guy.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize that.
Yeah.
But we got a quote here from Cardinal Peter Turkson, not willing to let these guys get ahead of him. He's the president of the Pontifical Council for Justice and Peace. That sounds good, doesn't it? Said that the Catholic Church would work with the authors of the Declaration to protect their common earth. That makes sense.
It makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Now, the next piece, you know, as I look at my computer screen here, I don't have a link to it. Did you miss a link on this?
Yeah, I got this one. We've talked about this one already.
We have talked about this already, and we really don't have to go into it in depth. But that picture is a picture of a turbine that is sunk in the river.
It's not going to sit there floating, no.
That's right. And
it's not a grass cutter.
It's not a grass cutter. It looks like one, but it's going to go down in the river, and the water flowing by it will turn those blades. Not very fast, but it'll turn them. And this is going into a place in Alaska called, I knew how to pronounce this the last time we were doing this.
Yeah, Ingukiuk or something like
that. It's Igwigig or Ijwishigig or something.
Something like that.
Something like that. In southwest Alaska, a prototype in-river hydro system is currently in operation. They've got it in operation. That's why I brought it in here, because we had talked about it before, and now it's running. Well, and most of the rural communities,
reading into this,
yeah.
I realized what's going on. I mean, it would seem like it was a no-brainer. You build this thing and put it in a river, watch it generate power,
yep.
and, you know, the meters going and all that. No, this is a prototype.
Yeah.
What they want to find out is what is the river going to do to it.
Yes.
Okay, so they're trying to decide, you know,
yeah.
What will the river do? Sludge, driftwood, and driftwood
can be whole trees.
It can be a whole tree.
Yeah.
You know? What will it do, and what can we do to protect it? So this is here for them to learn.
Yes.
And I looked at this and I said, boy, I could see a whole bunch of these things in the Connecticut River up and down.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're only, 20 feet high or something like that. So
yeah.
Most of the Connecticut River has spots where
you know,
it's 20 feet
I used
deep.
to tell people I know off the top of my head, 5 different water power technologies that don't use dams.
Yeah.
And
I would figure these would be running the river, no dams.
this is running the river. It's
Yep.
no dam. And this last week, I came across another one.
Oh, another one.
So now there's 6. I have a collection of technologies that don't require dams.
Well, you know, solar and wind are sexy right now.
Yeah.
But there's guys sitting there in their back in their little studies, and there's other guys sitting there in their labs
Yeah.
in colleges.
Yeah.
And they're coming up with
Yeah.
more ideas, some of which appear even strange to us.
Yes.
And some of these things are really going to make sense. I mean,
Well, you know,
the one I like is the one that looks like a great big sea serpent. It's there to capture waves.
we've got
you
one
know?
of those here in Brattleboro.
Do we?
Yeah, it's down by the marina.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I've seen that guy. Yeah.
I don't think it makes any power, but it sure looks like a sea serpent. Okay. For those of you who don't know Brattleboro, we have a place called the Marina, and there's a restaurant there, and they've got this thing in the water that's supposed to look like the Loch Ness Monster or something.
Something like that. It's a sea serpent.
It's
Yep.
a sea serpent.
Yes, it
That's
is.
right. Okay, we're up to Friday, August 21st. We're barely making progress today. GDF Suez, now Engie, a multinational energy company that owns and operates a variety of liquefied natural gas import facilities in New England, commissioned a report by Energy ZT Advisors LLC. I'm getting too many
Hey,
Z's in
pronounce
this.
that word.
Energy
Zip.
ZT. Yeah, right. It's Energy ZT as a single word. I don't know.
Energize it, I bet you.
I'll bet it is. The report says that a proposed natural gas pipeline is unnecessary and lays out a series of alternatives to meet the region's recent wintertime natural gas shortfalls. This is in a publication called The Recorder. And somebody told me, and I wish I could remember who it was, that the shortfalls that we had in New England did not result from undercapacity of the pipelines, but they resulted from the misallocation.
That's in this article.
Yeah. That's where I got it.
That's right in the article.
That? Okay.
I got a couple of pictures of some of the protesters up there.
Well, by golly. What do you suppose they're protesting? A pipeline?
Fracked gas hall of horrors.
Oh, my.
And
Fracked gas
the
is
other
a
guy, if you can see him, I know this guy. That's Waffles the Clown. I mean, that's what he goes by. And he is a clown. He's a professional clown.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there with Go Pipeline. And that's not what he's promoting. You know,
Yes.
he's making fun of it. But
Yeah.
he's wearing a skeleton suit, you know, and all
Yes.
that. I haven't seen him in a while. He's a fun guy.
Yeah, I believe it. I've known a bunch, not a bunch, but I've known a few clowns. And when they're out of clown uniform, they're still clowns.
Yeah.
But they're funnier, to tell you the truth. Okay. The Guardian tells us the government of the Australian state of Victoria has set itself against the country's federal government over renewable energy by fast-tracking plans for 50 new wind turbines worth $200 million. The Premier revealed the plan at the Kemple Prince Engineering, where 100 staff had been made redundant in 2014 because of uncertainty over the federal government's renewable energy target. And you know what has happened in Australia is the federal government has been trying to take money away from renewable power and actually intended to give it instead of back to the taxpayers, who they said were being charged too much. They were going to give it to the coal industry.
Well,
Who do you suppose
got to
brought them into
understand what's
office?
going on down there.
Oh,
I mean, that's a
man.
very big part of the Australian economy.
Coal.
They have a lot of coal.
Yeah.
It's all surface mining coal, vast mines.
Yeah.
And they've been selling coal to Southeast Asia forever.
Yeah.
So they got a lot of power in the Australian government.
Although you notice that we reported a week or two ago that the largest Australian coal union is saying we should start looking into how we can get our workers
You would think
into.
they're acting against their own interests, but I think they're protecting jobs.
They're protecting their jobs.
Yeah.
They want their miners
Yeah.
to have jobs outside of the coal mines when the mines close. They don't have as much money in coal as the coal industries do. and the owners
Yeah,
of the coal
yeah,
industries.
yep.
There was a report that we won't be talking about this week, but it came out today that said that the stranded assets of Citicorp, I think, they were talking about stranded assets amounting to $100 trillion.
I can't even wrap my head around.
Well, let me put it this way, Tom.
That's a lot of money.
It's enough money that people would be willing to fight over it.
Yeah. Yep.
And they would be willing to kill other people over it. And of course,
Yeah,
we know, according to the World Health Organization, that the fossil fuel industry is killing about 10,000 people every day.
Yep.
So as it stands right now, just in air pollution. So this is the Third World War is going.
We've talked about this in Australia several times. We're going to talk about it again, even in this in this piece here.
By the way, I wrote an article which is in the current issue of Green Energy Times. It's on the front page, called "The Silent World War," and it is exactly about the war that I'm claiming the fossil fuel industry has undeclared on the rest of the world, because it's killing people.
Well, it is.
And it's destroying the world, and it's anyway, we should go on to something happier.
It's basically, they are ignoring the second order consequences.
Yeah, absolutely.
The economies of the world have profited very tremendously by using these fossil fuels.
Yeah.
But nobody gave it any thought to
the mercury they were going to put into the streams in Vermont.
And the CO2 and
carbon dioxide,
all of this stuff.
You know, it's crazy when you think about it. The anti-wind activists point out, and I think from what I have read truthfully, that birds are killed by wind turbines.
Yeah.
And I read a thing recently that said that 440,000 birds were killed in the United States in one year by wind turbines. And the person who was writing that said, that sounds like a lot of birds, until you realize that human activities in the United States kill about 1 billion birds a year.
Got to put it in perspective.
You have to put it into perspective. And the fossil fuel industry is killing millions, tens of millions of birds every year. And as I think about this, I think about well, we should go on through the news. I could pontificate on this for a long time.
The world has benefited from this.
Yes.
But the model is outdated now.
The model's
outdated. And it's in the process of transition, and it's going to be painful.
It's got to, well, no, it doesn't have to be painful.
It doesn't have to be, but it will be.
It can be fun. No, I think it could be fun. Yeah. I think that if people kind of, sit back and think about this and say, these are the alternatives. Renewable power is one of them. It won't cost us anything. It will improve our air. It will improve our health. It won't cost us anything. It will lower our bills. It won't cost us anything.
Well, eventually this is going to sink in.
Yeah, I think it is.
But this next picture here shows that hasn't sunk in yet.
Why don't you put the picture up, Tom?
Why don't you start talking?
A new report published by Trillium Asset Management has found that California's 2 public pension funds lost over $5 billion last year due to investments in the top 200 fossil fuel companies. Interestingly, the report comes at the same time that SB 185, it's a bill in the legislature, is awaiting vote at the California State Assembly, a bill that would divest the same pension funds from coal. And you know what? This proves something about California. It is so advanced in its approach to renewable power, they were not watching this show. We told them to do this.
Well, they just followed inertia. Fossil fuel's been a good investment for them, I'm sure, for a long time.
Yes.
And they figured it's going to continue to be so. And
I don't know that fossil fuel...
The market fooled them.
Yeah, I don't know that fossil fuel... Well, fossil fuel stock has been... When I was in high school, I took an economics course, and the teacher was really into the stock exchange. And he said, when you get to be old, your portfolio should include a lot of utility stocks because they're reliable.
Yeah,
and
that's always been
the
knowledge,
case. Yeah. And now what we're seeing is that the stuff that was regarded as reliable in the days of my youth is no longer reliable.
Yep.
And so, the world's changing,
The
and
times
people
they are changing.
object to change. But honestly, we've got a terrifying thing ahead of us in climate change. And I'm absolutely, utterly convinced that if we play this correctly, we're going to wind up 100 years from now having a society that is healthier and happier, better fed, more comfortable, more fun.
Well, you said a big if, though.
Well, I think we have to do this. I think that
we do.
The economics behind it alone are going to
If we don't do it, the results are going to be disastrous.
Yes. But I think that just the economics are going to push us into doing something that the ethics have been telling us to do for years.
Well put. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I do believe that.
Now that we've convinced everybody, that report came from Clean Technica, and so does the next one. A new study shows how pollution is making its way across the Pacific Ocean from China and impacting the United States atmosphere and undoing much of the work done to eradicate the unhealthy ozone pollution. Specifically, it answers long-held concerns that ozone levels on the west coast of the United States remain constant despite significant reduction of ozone-forming chemicals.
So where's that coming from?
Well, West Coast...
This article says it's coming from China.
The prevailing winds would bring it across the Pacific Ocean. And if the ozone layer is not going down, the first thing to do is look at what?
Well,
Hawaii? Hawaii doesn't release enough ozone.
I'll read the first sentence here because it says exactly the same thing, and it says it's sort of in a tongue-in-cheek, but it's real. Somebody call Donald Trump.
Oh, really?
Somebody call.
Oh, call.
It's imperative. Chinese pollution has joined the long list of illegal immigrants,
yes,
making its way across the seas and into America.
Into
America's atmosphere, at least.
Yep.
The dominant westerly winds blew this air pollution straight across to the United States, in a manner of speaking. China is exporting its air pollution to the west coast of America.
Yeah. Tom, could I ask you a personal question? Do you have ancestors who were illegal aliens?
I'm not sure there was such a thing as illegal aliens.
They weren't legal. They must have been.
I mean, they went through Ellis Island.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Irish people in the United States got off in Canada.
That's true, but my folks came to New York City.
Okay. I had ancestors who came to New Jersey in the 17th century.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They were illegal.
But
no Indians gave them permission to come here.
My grandmother, my mother's mother,
yeah,
was pregnant when she came to New York.
Oh.
So my uncle, my aunt, my mother's oldest sister, was born in New York.
Really?
But conceived in Ireland.
Okie dokie.
Okay, and that's one of the things that Trump is trumpeting about. Birthright citizenship.
Well, I have no respect for this man. I have no respect for him. Anybody who wears a gopher on his head, I don't respect. Okay, he's not the only person I don't respect, but, I respect a lot of people a lot of the time, but Donald Trump is on my bad list right now. I could respect him if he'd do something respectable. Okay, we're up to Saturday, August 22nd. And we get this from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. The EPA unveiled a package of rules this week aimed at curbing methane and volatile organic compound emissions from sources all along the oil and gas production chain. The rules particularly target shale operations and are the centerpiece of the Obama administration's effort to rein in methane emissions by 40 to 45% below 2012 levels in the next decade. And this is something, by the way, that was not all over the papers.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Interesting picture there.
Yeah.
That picture takes place in Vermont.
Yes, I noticed that.
That's the Washington Electric Co-op.
Yep.
And it looks like what they're doing is a nasty thing. And it really isn't.
Yeah.
They are collecting methane gas from the landfill.
Right.
And it provides 3/4 of the power that the Washington Electric Co-op uses. They have a small hydro dam too. And from what I read about the Washington Electric Co-op, they got 5 generators in that landfill already. Mm-hmm. There's a 6th in planning. And this flare that you see in there is where the sixth one's going to be.
Oh, good for them.
So rather than allowing the methane to erupt into the atmosphere as it would normally, they're collecting it and they're going to burn it in an engine.
Yeah, well, they're going to burn it in an engine, but right now they're burning it like this.
Well, and CO2 is less obnoxious than methane.
Methane is judged by scientists to be 20 times as bad to 70 times as bad, depending upon what scientists you're talking about.
What they're doing is actually
this is good for the environment.
Ecologically sound.
Doesn't look nice, but it's good for the environment. It's better for the environment than doing nothing.
For sure.
Okay. Our next one comes from Business Insider Australia, and I'm getting tired of talking about Australia. Canberra is at the forefront of responding to climate change, with Australian Capital Territory government pledging 100% renewables for the city by 2050. I'm getting so excited about Australia. Canberra's current target is 90% renewables by 2020, while the city of Sydney pledges to use 100% renewable energy by 2030. South Australia's target is 50% by 2025, while Queensland is aiming at 50% by 2030. And all of this, of course, is in direct counterpoise to what the federal government, led by Tony Abbott, is wanting to do.
Again, we're going to visit that a little bit later on.
We will.
Interesting picture here. It's kind of a pretty picture,
isn't it?
Really.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what is it, and what has it got to do with energy?
Well,
and the answer is basically nothing. That is the National Arboretum.
Yes.
In I can't even think of the town. Canberra.
In Canberra.
It's in Canberra. So what you see there is all trees.
Yep. And Canberra is the city in the Australian Capital Territory, which is the equivalent of Washington D.C.
Exactly. Exactly.
The Australians did a lot of things that are based on what's going on in the United States, and they have a Senate and a House of Representatives. They don't have a president that's analogous to our president. They have a prime minister.
No, they have a prime minister.
But the Senate and the House of Representatives are very similar to ours. Okay, move on.
Let's see. Is there any? Yeah, I'll put you up here, and let's see. Is there anything else in that article?
People will see me. You'll see me for what I am.
Well, there's stuff in that article, but we're going to touch on.
Yeah.
Move along. All
right. This is an interesting one. This is the sixth kind of water source energy that doesn't require a dam. Yeah. The world's largest ocean thermal energy conversion power plant, completed by the Mackay Ocean Engineering, celebrated its connection to the electrical grid on Friday. Using temperature differences between the ocean's cold, deep water and warm surface water, Mackay's OTEC power plant is able to generate clean, renewable electricity that is available continuously. And
if you look at that picture you see on the right, unfortunately my mouse doesn't show up on your screen out there.
Yeah.
But if you look on the right where all those little houses are,
yep,
that's operational now.
Yes.
But it's small.
Yes.
Okay, and it's kind of a pilot plant for what you see on the left, which is going to be out to sea.
Yeah.
By the way, this is in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Okay, and
this was actually reported in Big Island now.
Okay, yeah. The offshore OTEC, which is Ocean Thermal Energy Conversion, they call it future, but it looks like very well going to be built.
Yeah.
And it's 10 times as big as the one they got now. So they're,
and how big
again, one of these ideas that people are working on.
How big is the one they've got now?
The one they got now is 100 kilowatts.
So we're
120
talking
homes.
Okay.
And this thing's going to be 100 megawatts.
Okay.
So it's going to be 12,000 homes.
Yeah. Yeah. And basically what's happening here, and this is something that's been demonstrated. I remember reading about it maybe in Scientific American.
I think we touched base on something like this earlier on.
We might have, but you can generate electricity from the difference in temperature between two things, and there's a bunch of different technologies that will allow you to do this. The Stirling engine being one.
Yeah.
But you can do this, and reliably, unless there's some kind of geothermal thing going on locally, the energy at the bottom of the ocean is going to be 37 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yep.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's because
all the time.
Yeah, all the time. Because this is one of the kind of miraculous things about water, is that it's densest at that temperature, not at its coldest temperature, but at that temperature, so that from that temperature, if it gets colder, it will start to rise.
Yeah.
And
Interesting, isn't
that,
it?
yeah, it is interesting, and it's why you don't. There are a whole bunch of implications for lakes and things like that, and you know, I've known scientists who say, "See, intelligent design. Somebody figured this out." There are other reasons why they do that, but and by the way, I do have a friend who was for all his life. I don't know if he was an atheist. I think he was an agnostic, but he finally came to the conclusion that there was intelligent design, and it was not based on any philosophical, ethical, moral,
Or
religious
ancient books.
thing or ancient books. It was because there was just the most bizarre stuff going on in science, and he said, you know, life couldn't exist without this, and this can't have existed by accident. Nevertheless, getting back to energy. This is just something that goes on. There's no animals that get trapped. There's no birds that get whacked. There's no pollution going into the atmosphere to kill everybody. This is just something that's there.
This is just based on a simple fact that the water's colder at the bottom
Yep.
than it is at the top.
Right.
So they're taking advantage of that temperature
And they're
difference.
bringing them together
Yep.
and releasing them in the middle.
Yep. Intelligent design.
I suppose. Maybe that's what it is. By golly. Okay, are we done with that one,
We're
Tom?
done with that guy.
We're up to Sunday, August 23rd. From the Providence Journal, we're back to Rhode Island.
Back to Rhode Island.
Opponents of a 900 megawatt gas-powered plant, Engie, is planning for Rhode Island say that the company's claim it will reduce greenhouse gas emissions is inaccurate because it only considers emissions from producing the power and does not take into account the potential substantial leakage of methane. And I have read in numerous places that natural gas power plants, especially if they're dependent on fracking, are worse than coal. And this is
Well,
coming
if you
from
take
scientists.
into consideration fracking, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to say is, well, all of this is happening in Rhode Island, so it's really green.
Yeah.
And their opponents are saying, well, but wait a second, where are you getting the gas?
Yeah,
You know?
from Pennsylvania, where a person turns the tap on and he gets sputtering out of the tap with the water, and if he lights it with a match, it'll burn.
Yeah. We've
Oh,
both seen
man.
that one. That's neat.
Yeah, neat. I have known people who lived in that part of Pennsylvania, and you know, they were not rich to begin with, and they did not get rich from fracking.
Somebody did.
Somebody did, but
Yeah.
all right. Minneapolis Star-Tribune says Minnesota and North Dakota have been fighting in federal court for 2 years over Minnesota's cross-border restrictions on coal-based electricity. The Clean Power Plan, the federal government's even more sweeping regulations to cut coal power plant greenhouse gas emissions, is pushing the states to work together. And guess what work they're doing together? They're figuring out how to get away from coal. What's the picture?
That's a power plant.
Ah, there you go.
That's a power plant.
And what's that big plume that comes up? Is that steam?
Well, they
or
call
is
it
smoke?
steam. It's a combination of steam and smoke. It's coming out of the stacks.
That's
So,
what I was. That's what I was.
It's not coming out of
yeah.
the cooling towers.
Yeah, they call it steam. It comes out of stacks, where but it's steam. Yeah, there's two products of the combustion. They are steam and carbon dioxide. So this is steam and carbon dioxide. It doesn't have any pollutants
No
in
particles.
it. No, there's no mercury in there. There's no nitrous oxide in there. Oh well. Okie doke. Our next item comes from the Business Spectator. In Australia, rather inconveniently for the coalition's intentions to reduce support for renewable energy, the government commissioned a modeler.
I think I'm on the wrong one here.
What? I'm on the wrong one?
I think, well, one of us is. I'm on wind energy could blow U.S. coal industry away.
Is that the first on August 24th?
Yeah, you're on the next one.
I'm on the next one. Sorry, folks, I'll go back. It's not enough to say the fossil fuels have to go
There you
or
go.
nuclear is hopeless, both of which are probably true statements. The question is what will replace them? Furthermore, how long will it take? Though solar energy has become the poster child for renewable energy generally, the strongest player in the game for now is wind. This is from oilprice.com.
Well, it's what's happening.
It's what's happening. You know, the price of power, the PPAs, the U.S. government, the DOE is keeping track of what the price of electricity in these PPAs. PPA is a power purchase agreement.
Yeah.
And you can sell a contract. You can have a contract that will sell power over a 20-year period, and at a fixed rate. And for wind power, the PPAs have gone below 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour.
5 years ago, I think that would have been inconceivable.
It would have been inconceivable. But at 2.5 cents, wind power is subsidized by the federal government for 2.3 cents per kilowatt hour. So at 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour, and it's gone below that, we're talking about below 5 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity on a PPA. And there is no fossil fuel or nuclear technology that can compete with that.
Can come anywhere near it.
At least not that I know of. And solar power, interestingly enough, has fallen down to the point in price, to the point where it's highly competitive with natural gas. And that's just going to get better. So that's why that's why Tom and I are sitting here and saying this war on climate change, we're going to win. We are going to win. It's just a question of how and when.
It's not going to be because we're green. It's going to be because of economics.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, now I'm to this really great one, or at least it's the one that I was doing. In Australia, rather inconveniently for the coalition's intentions to reduce its support for renewable energy, the government-commissioned modeler found the same answer as several other energy market analysts had before. And that is, slashing the renewable energy target would actually increase consumers' and businesses' power bills.
This is the one I couldn't access because of a paywall.
Oh, well, basically what is happening here, and I should remember that Big Business Spectator is the evil party in this. They did a model, and they came to the conclusion that the government trying to take money away from renewable power and put it elsewhere is increasing power bills because renewable energy
that's what the message is
going to cost less. Okay, let's back away from this.
I did find a similar
article.
article.
Good.
Well, I don't have it because I just found it this morning. Didn't have time. It was good. It had some great pictures. Maybe I'll bring it up next week. But
good.
It was a very good article. It was a year old, but they were saying exactly the same thing a year ago.
Well, this is, the current government has been told this over and over and over and over again. And what they're doing is they're putting their fingers into their ears.
Yeah.
Really. They've got an idea that they want the coal industry to have their support because they've got assets in the ground. And all they've got to do is take those assets out of the ground and burn them all, and they'll make lots and lots of money.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, until everybody dies, and then the money isn't worth anything.
Then the money's gone.
Yeah. Okay, this is an interesting one about fracking, by the way, from Clean Technica. A recent earthquake of magnitude 4.6 is the largest of over 500 seismic events in British Columbia believed to be caused by fracking. The quake's epicenter is just 3 kilometers from Progress Energy fracking site. The company immediately shut down operations and notified the province's Oil and Gas Commission. And that picture is a picture of, do you see the name of I don't have it in front of me here, the name of the little town? It's not a town,
it was in that article, I'm not sure
hamlet.
It's here or not.
It's a funny name, but that thing is a Google Earth image of the
that is the town
that
they're talking about.
Why don't you scroll on that thing a little bit so people
101?
can see it? Yeah, that's what it is.
The 101 quake.
Yeah, the 101 quake.
And the next town is across the border in Alberta called Fox Creek.
Well, obviously they can't agree about what language they're talking. Why don't you scroll that down a little bit so people can see that? That's a village in British Columbia. But the people who live there, and obviously there's not many of them, so they don't count. You can just ignore what they say. People who live there were shaken out of bed by this 4.6 earthquake. That's pretty powerful.
I have no reference for that. I really don't.
I remember a couple of earthquakes that happened when I was living in New Hampshire, and one of them was about a 4, and it was shaking things up pretty much, and you could hear the paintings rumbling on the wall and stuff, and it was the epicenter of that was about 80 miles away. So it's
Yeah, well, here's what somebody says. Everybody here felt it.
Yep.
My house shook.
Yep.
My couch I was on was actually shaking with me.
Yep.
It dawned on me it could be an earthquake,
Yep.
but it could be fracking in this area. I don't think they should continue fracking.
Yeah, I don't think they should continue fracking either. It's kind of like saying, well, we should continue, I don't know, dumping poisons in the backyard. So. Okay, getting away from that, Clean Technica tells us the Federal Housing Authority, FHA, is developing guidelines under which it will accept property assessed clean energy funding.
I think we're still out of sync here.
We're out of sync. President Obama?
Yeah, this is Obama.
Okay, President Obama accused fossil fuel interests of trying to restrict consumer access to solar, wind, and other renewable sources in order to protect the status quo. The president also questioned the ideology of those who champion a free market for solutions, except when the free market is pointing to the wisdom of renewable energy. And boy, are they ever doing that.
That was a slam right at the Koch brothers.
Oh, he specified Koch brothers. He
That's
said,
not the American way.
it's not the American way. Well, it is if the Koch brothers are running things. The Koch brothers, in my opinion, I have to say in my opinion because they'll sue me for every dollar I've got, every penny I've got. And this is my opinion, is that they have got a conservative agenda that is a page that copied from the neo-Stalinist playbook. The neo-Stalinist playbook says you have a tiny group of people who control the government, which owns the means of production.
Okay.
And what they're doing is they're saying we want a tiny group of people who own the means of production that controls the government.
Yeah, okay.
What's the difference?
I don't see any. I've said similar things. I don't see any difference. Yeah.
It's so exasperating, and the conservatives in the United States believe this junk.
It's, what would you call it? It's more socialism than it is capitalism.
It's more socialism. It's corporate socialism. It's we will socialize the risk, and we will privatize the money, the income, the capital. It's exactly the opposite of what a real conservative should be looking for.
Yeah. And they know it.
Some of them know it.
I'm sure the Koch brothers do.
I have a friend who calls me up every once in a while, and I gave him a rant on this, and he is a free market conservative. And he said, no, they would never do that. And then about 3 weeks later, he called me up again, and he basically ranted the same thing right back to me.
Well, the only thing wrong with the free market is it's a myth.
Well, the big, not only that, but
it's a controlled market. Almost any market that's a market.
Yeah, and then the Koch brothers want to control it.
Yeah.
If the other thing too is that there are certain things that you cannot monetize. You know, how do you monetize how do you put a value on monarch butterflies? Mm-hmm. How do you?
Good point.
You know,
good point. Bees.
Bees. How do you take a painting of a vase with flowers coming out of it, which somebody says is worth $32 million, and say this is actually worth more than Vincent van Gogh's second cousin Bubba Van Gogh, who lived in Louisiana, who made paintings, you know, and they sell for $35. You can't do that. The free market does it, and the free market is idiotic. Okay, now we're to the Federal Housing Authority.
Now we're at PACE.
Okay,
PACE will be available.
This is good. The Federal Housing Authority has developed guidelines under which it will accept PACE funding. The development means that PACE will soon be available to all U.S. homeowners. Ed Golding, the head of the FHA, acknowledged the value of the program in a press release. PACE. What is PACE? Property Assessed Clean Energy. It means that you can buy renewable energy like rooftop solar, that kind of thing, and have it on your house.
And billed as taxes.
And
billed as if it were taxes.
Yeah.
You pay the municipality.
Yeah.
But you still got the use of it.
Yep.
And it's kind of automatic because the town is used to collecting taxes.
Yeah,
Sounds like a good idea to me.
It's a good idea. What Tom just said, I think a lot of people are going to say, what? Yeah, if you look into it, it's a good deal. The town meeting in Brattleboro. Town meeting reps have been kind of struggling with this for a couple of years now.
Yes.
And other municipalities in Vermont have also been struggling with it, and we don't have really clear guidance. And the result of that is that we don't have really clear results. But this is going to make it easy to implement the system, I think.
Well, I think so too. And I'm happy to see it happening.
Yeah.
I think right from the beginning, I thought it made sense.
Yep.
But it was a little bit cumbersome and
Yeah, and it's made sense in a lot of other places besides Vermont. It just happens that in Vermont, the law is not, the state law that covers it is not clear enough, apparently. I, as a non-lawyer, Okay. That item came, I should say, from Clean Technica. Watchdog.org says the town of Stratford, Vermont is changing its tune on approving a 4.9 megawatt solar array at the Elizabeth Mine. In a letter sent to the Public Service Board, the Select Board wrote that they will not let Wolf Energy and Brightfields Development install solar at the site if the array's renewable energy credits are sold out of state.
we started talking about that earlier in this show. And yeah, I mean, they're kind of playing a, what do you call it, hot potato game here.
This is a hot one, and it's one that I don't know. I can see how both sides on this think. It's one of those issues that I can't come down on a side on.
No, I'm reading this, and Green Mountain Power is selling some of these credits.
Yeah.
But they're using the money that they're generating to promote renewables.
And there's a problem with this? I don't know. But on the other hand, I can see the point that these guys on the select board are making. They want the benefits. They want the
They want all the benefits to stay in the state.
Yeah.
And are they staying in the state or are they not?
Well, if Green Mountain Power is,
yeah,
it's really hard to know. But if Green Mountain Power is selling them out of state and using them for promoting renewable energy in state, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, that's what they say they're doing, and I kind of believe them.
I kind of believe them. Dottie Schnorr says she's doing that, and I believe Dottie Schnorr. Okay. Wednesday, October 26th. By golly, that's yesterday.
Oh, this is a very interesting article. Technically interesting.
From a technical point of view, this is really interesting. Solar Reserve is a company. Their baseload solar, 260 megawatt Copiapo project bids into the grid on April, having cleared Chile's permitting with a I don't speak Spanish. I'm
Certificate of Common Good.
Well, okay, there you go.
That's not exactly what it's saying. Basically, it's the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. Solar Reserve has combined two solar technologies. One is PVs, stuff you put on your rooftop. The other is concentrated solar with energy storage, so it can supply electricity both day and night. They have a baseload solar power plant.
This is very interesting. There's a couple of good pictures out there. On the right is a picture of something very much like this that they built in South Africa.
Right.
On the left is a plan view, if you will, of what they plan on building in this Chilean desert.
Right.
Now, Chile has a lot of salt.
Yes.
They really do.
They have
and they got a lot of desert.
They got a lot of desert.
And this solar concentrator there is going to be filled with salt.
Yes.
And they're going to get it very, very hot, melt that salt. They'll run the salt down into a generating station. Probably use water, turn it into steam, generate electricity. They could use a Stirling engine, couldn't they?
They could. There's a lot of different ways you can get power. I
but
think
in any
probably
case,
use water.
As you just said, they're using the molten salt to store all of the energy that they're producing by the molten salt towers and by the solar energy so that they can supply baseload power, basically, 24/7.
24/7, yes.
And they go into the math here a little bit. I'm going to put you back up on the screen.
Why would you do that? I'm not interested.
I love this article. So
Put yourself on the screen so people can see your impeach Bush and Cheney thing.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
No, come on. You got to stand up or something. There it is.
As we said, they could still be impeached. They can't lose their job, but they can lose their benefits. So let's see if I got so much underlined in this article because it's really true. Let's see if I can get a good page. Total installed capacity of this proposed unit is going to be 410 megawatts, but different parts of the plant run for different hours to provide an average of 260 megawatts 24 hours a day. So they're storing the energy, they're running it. Instead of 410 that they're max generating, they're only selling 260.
Yeah.
But it's available at the flip of a switch.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to see anything like this in Vermont. We don't have the deserts.
No, we don't have deserts in Vermont.
But
at least
where
not
there are
yet,
deserts, this
climate
makes sense.
change might bring us deserts.
Oh, Jesus. I don't
Actually,
want to
that
think
is
about
not
that.
projected. Nobody should run off and worry about that one.
And the takeaway here is that this is right accurate, right on. As the first solar plant to operate at a capacity factor and availability percentage equivalent to that of a carbon combustion power plant like coal, oil, or natural gas, but without the climate damage, this 260 megawatt Copiapó, there's a accent over the O.
Oh, okay.
Copiapó
I missed that.
project also represents a game changer for solar energy. Where you got deserts, this is going to be taken over.
We have a few of those.
There's a few. I'm thinking of Saudi Arabia.
Well,
They're going to run out of oil. They're going to have plenty of sun.
Saudi Arabia has got some of the best solar sites in the world.
They do.
And they have some of the best wind sites in the world.
And they do that too.
And they're talking about piping electricity to Europe. And all they got to do is make sure that the territory in between Saudi Arabia and Europe is politically stable.
Yeah. And they're doing their best to make sure that it isn't.
I think that may come to an end at some point, hopefully. You never can tell. You know, these people have, as people everywhere do, have complicated ways of looking at things. Okay, are we ready for something?
We're ready
new?
for the next one.
C News Renewables, which, by the way, is a news organization that operates out of Bulgaria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in
I didn't
English.
think anything operated out of Bulgaria.
Yeah, they do. Ontario's electric system operator released a list of 119 projects that will compete for power contracts under a 565 megawatt large renewable procurement program. About 1,400 megawatts of projects proposed by units of NextEra, Renewable Energy Systems, Sun Edison's, and others have qualified for the program. Now, 1,400 megawatts of projects are qualified to bid.
But there's only 565 that they're going to award.
Right. So this is like saying we've got 1,400 blueprints, but we're, 1,400 megawatts of blueprints, but we're going to come up with, but even so, 565 megawatts in Ontario is a lot of power.
Well,
That's the equivalent of a small nuclear power plant.
They're going to fund 300 megawatts of wind,
Yep.
140 megawatts of solar,
Yep.
50 megawatts of bioenergy, and 75 megawatts of hydropower.
Yeah.
That adds up to 565.
Right.
Okay, so they're right on
This
there.
is a lot of stuff.
They may not be getting the 565.
Right.
They may get 600, but they're only going to fund 565.
Right. And
But
by the way, you know, when you mentioned bio, I believe that includes biodigesters.
I would say I'm virtually certain it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a thing, I think yesterday, saying that the UK bioenergy group, a bioenergy group in the UK, estimated that they could get 7% of their power from biodigesters.
You know, it's very interesting. That's the next thing we're going to talk about.
Oh, is it? Okay. But it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we
By
go.
golly, I remembered the thing. That is a very interesting picture you've got up there, Tom.
Well, let me get it up there.
I'm trying to get myself off the screen, having just embarrassed myself. The UK's anaerobic digestion generating capacity now exceeds 500 megawatts. That's almost the size of Vermont Yankee, and it's distributed among a bunch of farms.
Yeah, that's distributed throughout Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
According-
Small one here, small one there.
Yep. According to
10
the
cows here, 10 cows there.
According to the Anaerobic Digestion and Bioresources Association, the trade body yesterday revealed 514 megawatts of electrical equivalent capacity is generated as electricity or biogas from more than 400 anaerobic digesting plants across the farming, waste, and water sectors.
So they're all small.
They're all small. Yeah.
But taken together, they're big.
Yeah. Actually, they're not all small. There are some that are
Probably
relatively
pretty big.
But in general, these are plants, these are electric generating plants that take waste that is a problem for farmers. Waste from
And they're also taking them from restaurants and stuff.
yes,
It's
waste,
foodstuffs.
it's foodstuffs, it's all kind of stuff, and they put it into these biodigesters, and cow manure mixed with straw, that sort of thing goes in there, and the farmers get the benefit of whatever electricity they can sell. And they also get the benefit of the fact that what they had as waste, which could have been spread on
Could have
in
been
fields,
compost.
could have been put out in the fields,
Yeah.
is now a material which is sometimes referred to as compost, but is more accurately referred to as digestite, I think, digestate.
Okay.
And it's a material that is very like compost, except that it has, my recollection is that the lignin in it has not been broken down,
Okay.
which means that
So these little
it's got a,
anaerobic guys break it down.
well, the aerobic guys break it down
Oh,
after
okay.
it's spread out in the field, which
Okay.
means that in the field it turns into compost.
Okay.
But in the meantime, it's also got a soil consistency that is beneficial to the crops. And one of the things that was noticed, and this is something that I came across months ago, somebody noticed that crops raised on digestate in the soil have superior disease resistance.
Let me get this straight if I think it's right. They take the raw material, they digest it anaerobically, and what's left goes out in the field as fertilizer.
That's right.
My God, how the money rolls in.
What can I say? And you know, if you look at the way Americans have done things in the past, now of course, you know, the dairy farms around here, and I'm kind of accustomed to the dairy farms that were in this part of.
You're buying cow power, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
The dairy farms in this area of the United States, you know, when I was a little kid, they took the manure and they spread it in the fields, and they just spread manure in the fields.
Oh, I remember that. It
Yeah.
smelled lovely.
It did. It was a lovely smell. As long as
To a
the
city
cows-
guy, it was not lovely.
Well, actually, I think a lot of people felt that it was lovely if the cattle had been grass-fed. But if the cattle were fed on other things besides grass, it started to get pretty stinky. And what happens is that is not the ideal way to deal with waste. And if you go out west, you get to farms where they had so much waste coming out so fast from the big commercial dairy operations and operations raising swine that they had horrible ponds full of waste.
Oh boy.
And they didn't have a good way to do it,
Yep.
to deal with that. Now we've got good ways of dealing with that.
Well, it makes sense. There's energy there.
Yeah.
Extract the energy
Yep.
in a sensible way.
Yep.
And you're still left with something useful.
And you don't have methane going into the atmosphere.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And this digestate doesn't smell bad.
Yeah, that's right.
Win-win situation.
Win-win. And you can get that out of agricultural waste, you can get it out of food waste, you can get it out of city waste, and of course, because of laws and so forth and people's sensibilities, you probably want to use those in different circumstances. You don't want to use municipal waste in agricultural fields, but you don't have to.
Interesting sideline here, and I'll read the sentence. In related news, a consortium of Scottish whiskey distillers said it is now providing low-carbon energy to thousands of homes
Yes.
in the local area. The biomass facility, I'm not even going to mention its name, part owned by the distillers, produces 8.3 megawatt hours by burning spent grain used in a distilling process mixed with wood chips.
Oh my gosh.
The group uses the electricity on site while the rest is exported to local communities, powering up to 8,000 homes.
8,000.
Yeah, and that's really not a very big
Powered by
amount.
the waste from the manufacture of whiskey.
Yeah.
How do you like it? Okay, I'm going to propose something here. Let's make lots of whiskey. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our hour.
I think that's the last one, yeah.
That's the last one. We are at the end of our hour, and thank you for having us in your homes. and on your computer screens. And, you know,
I'm sorry this is over so soon.
I am too. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. Goodbye.
And makes the wind blow strong as it will. I want to hope gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still.